Batman has been often dubbed as the world's greatest detective. With that title comes a sense of superior intellect and perception you would not think could be matched by other characters. Yet there are those who are surprisingly smarter than DC's Dark Knight. With that being said, we present a list of the top 10 heroes who are actually smarter than Batman from across the comic book universe. Before we start, make sure you follow me on social. I'm On Air Andrew. All right, guys, let's go. First up on our list, let's look at Hawkgirl. Now, kicking off with a rather surprising entry, Hawkgirl is credited as being one of the two brainiest heroes in the comic book multiverse, rising to mainstream fame in the DC animated universe's Justice League and Justice League Unlimited animated series. Being the only female member of the DCAU's original team lineup, Hawkgirl had to stand out and match Wonder Woman's popularity and stature in the wider DC universe. Despite the two female leaguers being matched in fighting skills and armor, with Wonder Woman having her lasso of truth, and both had the ability of flight, with Hawkgirl having naturally grown wings, Hawkgirl differs from the Princess of Themyscira by being a master strategist, even more so than the world's supposed greatest detective, Batman. Not only is Shiera an expert chess player able to beat Bruce at chess, but also she was able to locate and remove the tracker that the Dark Knight put on her mace, as well as entering the Batcave without triggering any alarms. Hawkgirl was also able to secretly send communications from the Justice League headquarters watchtower to her people on Thanagar without alerting any of her teammates on the League. Up next on the list, Plastic Man. Eric O'Brien is most likely always referred to or portrayed as the comic relief of the Justice League. However, behind the goofy plastic exterior is a very serious, hard-faced individual, the type of guy who was a rather efficient criminal prior to his reformation. In one story where the Leaguers are split from their alter egos, so picture Bruce Wayne and a Batman and Kal-El and a Superman, a Plastic Man and an Eric O'Brien, when the crisis strikes, Plastic Man is the one with the level head who rallies the team and figures out how to combine the alter egos into one being again. After the team was reassembled, Batman himself acknowledged Plastic Man's superior leadership skills and even let him off for punching his Bruce Wayne side while rallying the team. And now let's look at Martian Manhunter. Now, as brought up in another post, John Jones' natural Martian physiology makes him more powerful than the likes of Superman. So it stands to reason that the superhero's intellectual capacity is higher than Batman's. The very occupation of John being a manhunter means he is a highly skilled detective like Batman, but what makes the Martian Manhunter a great detective, or rather a greater detective than Batman, is that John has a longevity that means he has had far more years experience than the human Dark Knight. The Manhunter also has the added advantage of being telepathic. That, combined with his other Martian abilities, as well as his detective skills, would mean that he could easily set up his own one Martian detective agency and solve all the crimes on Earth with ease. And how about Constantine? I mean, looks can be misleading, and while on the surface John Constantine looks like someone you would give change to as you pass him in the street, underneath you have an occult detective and master of the dark arts. Constantine is the expert you go to if there is a question or mystery that involves anything mystic or demonic about the situation in question, which has seen him work alongside many superhero teams and even be a founding member of the Justice League Dark. In the CW's Arrowverse, not only was Constantine first seen in the present day of Arrow assisting Team Arrow by restoring the soul of former team member Sarah Lance, but also he later both assisted and joined the Legends of Tomorrow, led by Sarah Lance, aka White Canary, as they tackled demons and magical creatures throughout time. When you especially consider that Constantine's villains are often the most heavenly or the most hellish, it's easy to see the fact he is able to outwit them constantly and is able to beat various other heroes in the brains department, Batman included. Now let's look at Tim Drake. While there have been multiple Robins in the history of the DC Universe, Tim Drake is the one who apparently inherited Batman's detective skills despite not being the biological son of the Dark Knight. Tim was seemingly born with a photographic memory and was able to figure out that Dick Grayson was Robin by memorizing his moves as an acrobat and recognizing them when watching Robin. The future third young boy to take on the mantle of Robin was able to figure out that the mantle had been passed on from Dick Grayson to Jason Todd, a deduction that forced Batman to admit that Tim was the greatest detective he ever saw. And now let's look at The Flash. To be clear, this is the Wally West version of the character that we're focusing on, despite the fact that Barry Allen is a CSI. However, Wally West has proven twice now in mainstream animation that he is a character of superior intellect that both rivals Batman and most of the characters on this list. Prior to becoming a speedster, Wally was a child prodigy with a genius-level IQ, as well as a natural gift for science, so much so that he recreated the same accident that gave Barry Allen his super speed to become a speedster himself. Once becoming a speedster, Wally's intellect is heightened by the Speed Force connection, which allows him to speed read and memorize in a split second what it takes mortals an hour or so to memorize. Becoming one of the founding members of the DCAU's Justice League, Wally proved himself to be on par with the likes of both Batman and Hawkgirl while maintaining his natural goofy and slacker side. Up next, Batgirl. When Barbara Gordon joined Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson in their vigilante activities, she proved herself to be more technologically equipped than her partner in both crime fighting and romance, Dick. Her whiz-kid side truly came through after her tragic crippling at the hands of the Joker in The Killing Joke. Becoming paralyzed from the waist down, Barbara thought her crime-fighting days were over. However, rather than count herself out, she instead developed one of the world's most complex and powerful computer systems and dedicated herself to fighting crime from behind a computer screen under the new codename Oracle. Now, as Oracle, Barbara uses her technological expertise not only to assist the Bat family, but also as a member of the Justice League of America and a founding member of the Birds of Prey. How about Spider-Man? So the only Marvel character on this list, but he deserves to be recognized as one of few teenage superheroes with superior intellect to the veteran vigilante Batman. Being something of a child genius, once bitten by the radioactive spider, Peter was shown to be able to design and create his own web shooters and synthetic webbing capsules, while also being acknowledged by the greatest minds in the Marvel Universe as an intellectual equal to many of them, including Mr. Fantastic and Tony Stark. Peter Parker is also one of few superheroes in the entire comic book universe that can match Batman's popularity and iconic status. While maintaining his teenage, everyday, friendly neighborhood persona, Peter is often credited as one of the greatest minds in comic books. At number 2, Sherlock Holmes. Yes, Batman may be the world's greatest detective in terms of comic book lore, but he is a mere shadow of the original world's greatest detective, Sherlock Holmes. I mean, yes, DC has its own Sherlock, and for fans of the Arrowverse, no, we are not referring to Harrison Sherlock Wells. Now, while Mr. Holmes' original famous stories were written before that of Detective Comics, the London-based detective has crossed over with Gotham's #1 detective on more than one occasion. I mean, not only has no stone been left unturned with both minds on a case, but Sherlock was capable of deducing Batman's secret identity of Bruce Wayne almost instantly, something only those with X-ray vision, like Superman, are traditionally capable of doing. The two detectives teaming up is often a refreshing change of pace for the Dark Knight, and he is also able to converse on a level of mutual respect and deductive reasoning that the Bat traditionally cannot do with other heroes he partners up with. And at number 1, it's Superman. So this isn't the first occasion that Superman has toppled the top 10 heroes list, and to be one about being smarter than Batman seems poetic for fans of the Man of Steel, who side against the Dark Knight. However, in this instance, Superman is capable of playing the fool against Batman's constant traps and intellect, despite, on paper, the fact that Superman should always manage to outwit Batman due to his X-ray vision, super hearing, and super speed. While in the pages of comics, Superman may look like he has fallen for the Bat's traps, it is actually more a case of the Man of Steel pandering to the delusion that Batman believes he is more intelligent than the Kryptonian, even though, under the yellow sun, Superman has super strength, speed, hearing, and intellect due to a photographic memory. Not just that, but Superman also has the power from the four corners of the galaxy, as well as the ability to absorb knowledge as fast as a flash and be multilingual to the point of speaking every Earth dialect and alien language.